World News. We talk about electric vehicles, green energy, and the stock markets. Today, I have with me special guest Adib Khaldi from Simple Picks. How's it going today, Adib?
Good, David. How are you doing?
Doing pretty good. And you're with us from Canada.
Now I'm with you from Canada. Yes, yes. This is my other location. So this is where all the magic began, I'd like to say.
Yeah. Well, we're here to talk about stocks today, and we've done pretty well with some of the advice you've given the last few times we've been on here.
Opinions.
And
Opinion.
opinions, yeah, give us your opinions on the stock market today. Anyways, let's go ahead and let's talk a little bit about what's just going on with Nasdaq and the S&P.
Absolutely. I mean, we are, sitting at near all-time highs in the stock markets here. The VIX is arguably low enough for the lack of volatility that we've been seeing as of lately. P is near all-time highs, the Nasdaq's near all-time highs. We've had NFP non-farm payrolls today, which came out, which actually tanked the markets just a little bit. They were higher than expected, which typically declines the US dollar. So we saw a decline in the US dollar earlier today, as well as the stock market. The stock market's kind of bounced back since then, and the US dollar is trending downwards. So what this ultimately leads me to believe, specifically where we're standing with the Nasdaq and the S&P here, and I'll share my screen. You know, we can probably expect continuation in the short run here. I'll probably put SPX here just so everybody can
All right.
see. So we're sitting at 4,700 right now. And essentially, on a weekly basis, what I see here on this chart is definitely a lot of support around the 442 area. So if I was somebody who would look to enter the market or potentially take longs on the S&P, I would look somewhere around the $4,500 mark, which is just about right here, above this breakout here of the previous high that got tested and broken into. And where my parameters would be for some support levels would probably be just anywhere around right here, and I'll complete this drawing and give out the signals
All
right
right.
after. So essentially, this is the trend line that we are looking to follow on a weekly basis. Again, today, as you can see, there's somewhat of a free fall that has occurred because of the NFP news and etc. So what Simple Picks would do, what we're seeing here, we've had a tremendous month of December. We went probably 15 out of 17 on our alerts, so we absolutely took care of the markets in December. I would wait probably around 4,500 or just a little over, 4,600 or 4,555 before I would take any kind of nibbles on the long side. Now, if we do see this critical area get taken out here, which is essentially the area of volatility, the area of most volume, of most kind of action that we're going to get in here. As you can see, every time it came in this type of trend line here that we have, which is symmetrical, it's hit a point, it's rejected. Over here it hit a point, it rejected. But what happened is we had the breakout right here, which makes me a camper that would want to enter, as I said, around this $4,500 support or trend line. So that's where we're at with the S&P. I am bullish for this month. Okay, just for this month, I play it month by month. For this month, I am bullish on the S&P. I am bullish on the Nasdaq. I think the markets overall are going to get a boost, and everybody's riding the high of the interest rate pauses. So nobody's suspecting that the Fed is going to raise rates again. And that's why we're seeing lots of buys in the market here, and this is what I kind of see. We're not short in the market. We're not necessarily longing the market either, but we do like the bullish uptrend.
Well, there was news earlier in the week, that the Fed wasn't going to do anything with the rates,
That's
and
right.
I think people were really hoping that they were going to go ahead and start knocking them back down a little bit.
That's right.
And
Yes, I agree. Mhm.
that news didn't really bode well there, that day at least.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't suspect that they're gonna knock them down now, anytime
Mhm.
now. I think for the first quarter of the year, we're not gonna see any kind of cuts. I don't believe so. But if we do get any kind of surprise cuts, it's going to propel the markets a lot higher. So, as a finance guy, economist type of guy, I fear for the bubble that we are building here. And unfortunately, what the United States decides to do, especially the Fed, is they kick the can down the road, and that's their trademark. They kick the can down the road. So I'm fearful for the bubble that we're in, but unfortunately, being a market participant, if you see the opportunity, you got to take the opportunity. It doesn't
Right.
matter what you think;
Mhm.
it's what the market thinks.
Right. No, I get that. I get that. Let's see. All right. And this is on the SPX. Now, why don't we go
That's
ahead
right.
and look at some of our EV stocks? And one reason I like
Absolutely.
looking at the overall market is because I get a lot of complaints about different things that are going on in the EV sector. And it's like, hey, if you look at the overall car market, you know, I get a lot of complaints about they'll show pictures of EVs not selling, and they'll always show pictures of
Mhm.
the F-150 Lightning. Well, but if you go around to car dealerships, full-size pickup trucks aren't moving. They've gotten to be, I mean, it's not uncommon to see them being 90, $100,000 now for a
I agree.
full-size pickup, and it's just
Absolutely.
it's ridiculous. Is the Lightning expensive? Yeah, it's too expensive too. And but still, it's interesting to see. Let's go ahead and let's start out. Let's look at Tesla to start with.
Tesla. Okay. Tesla. I mean, the EV stocks have taken a hit
Hmm.
this last week or two. I
Hmm.
would say this is the week here. So, if you recall on your show about a
It was
month ago, I would say
right. It was
3
about a
weeks ago
month.
or a month ago.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was be about a month. Let me just pull up my chart here. Yeah, we were pretty bullish on Tesla. I believe we had our show sometime around here when it was around $230,
Right.
give or take.
Hmm.
So what we had, at the time speculated is that we are breaking up this type of uh, scenario here. Let me just go on the weekly basis. And essentially, we saw that this one here is the to ride. So when you and I had spoken, it was around $230, I believe, give or take, or 225.
Hmm.
I'll zoom in here. So it was around $225, give or take. We had recommended either, somebody take the 220 puts. If they want to write those, they can write the 220 puts, meaning we are still bullish on the stock. Meaning that if you wrote those puts, you collected premium against people who were buying the 220 put that would have never came into fruition. But we also, of course, gave out the bullish call. That 230 ran up to all the way to 265. So it was a solid gain of roughly 7% or so. And obviously, it's hit a rejection point, and it's coming back down now. So what I would, overall on Tesla, I'm not really, the biggest bull on Tesla. I've made these remarks clear. I think it's
Right.
quite an overvalued company, and there's just not much revenue there to support it. The R&D is excellent. They come up with all kinds of new technology that's probably worth $1 trillion. Great, but as a shareholder, I just can't find myself buying it and expecting to make a profit. Okay. So, my longer term outlook on Tesla is that it needs to hold this $220 line in the sand for me. If I see this line get broken, given around here, 220. Yeah, be the one right here. If I see this line breached, I will probably short Tesla because as I speculate, it will break below this level of support and probably
Okay.
head back down to a ton of resistance on the upside. So I'm neutral on Tesla today. I was bullish on it in December. The play is now over. And I wouldn't touch Tesla myself. I probably would short it. I wouldn't long it.
Okay. All right. Let's look at Rivian next. RIVN.
Okay. The last time we looked at Rivian, we called a bullish call out, and we had mentioned that it is going to breach the support that it had built around, I believe, the $16-17 mark. It was. So sorry guys, I'm charting on this version so that I really keep up with what we're doing and kind of talking about, as opposed to you just seeing my chart being ready made. So the breakout at the time when we had drew on our trading lines was kind of looking like this, and this one here was two channels that we had. So we had the first channel here, which actually stretched out from right there. And we had the second channel, which was right here. And this is what essentially we were looking at when we were on your show.
Yeah.
At the time, I believe it was around the $17 mark. So I'm just going by the date, December 8th, which is Friday, and I probably was on your show. And that's around Rivian, it was around $17.75. I really loved Rivian. Our chat room, our community alerted Rivian. A bunch of them, bought call options. They really liked it. Obviously, we had a great couple of days of gains, a whole monstrous like 20% ish gain on Rivian. Since even more, it was up as high as 35% gain. So we extracted the play again. It's just a trade in the market for us. Rivian looked excellent at $17.50. It broke out, reached $24.50. And again, the play is over. That type of resistance now kicked in. And right now we're in a free fall mode based on the whole EV world. I don't particularly look at the news. I look so more at the charts. And then on a monthly basis, when I look at this type of chart, I see that it's trying to squeeze out as much of the sellers as possible. So the selling should probably stop sometime around now. Now, if the selling doesn't stop sometime around now, again, just like Tesla, I believe it will breach through the $19 mark here and settle somewhere back down at the $15 to $16 mark, which
Oh,
wouldn't be
Lord.
very favorable because it'll erase everything it's done in the last 2 months. But that's what we're kind of looking at. It's not too, the situation on the EV right now, stocks, especially with this last 2 weeks, isn't looking very good.
It's funny. One of my friends bought a bunch of Rivian at $22 about a week or so ago, and now it's sitting at what, 16,
1920. No,
19?
it's
Okay.
1920, 1920.
Okay,
But
it's
I
gone back a little bit.
had they asked us, we were selling at $22 and $23. We weren't buying. So,
Right.
unfortunately, when you don't have a market lens like some people do, you're not able to tell the weather. You're going to walk out with no
Right.
jacket. You're going to get caught with no jacket.
So you think it's going
So
to go down a little more?
I think it's going to get caught somewhere around $18, $18.50. And if it doesn't,
Mhm.
like I said, just around this trend line here and reverse back out kind of in a scenario like this, then yes, it's headed down here. So it's a make it or break it point right now. So if your friend is watching the show, watch for that $18.50 mark. If you see that broken, don't panic. But if you see it broken, it's probably likely that the selling pressure is going to continue.
So if it go down to 18, they might need a stop loss at 18.
I would say so, yes. But I can't tell anybody anything because
No,
what could
I
happen
know.
is, you know what could happen is, David, tomorrow some news can come out that Rivian is the best, baddest stock of the EV world, and it's up 50% off speculation and off of future promise. Nothing that is material, you know, and
Right,
then I can't do anything. And then the short traders who would have took the technical play can't do anything. Why? Because news always trumps everything. Fundamentals always trump everything. But unfortunately, we don't get fundamental news every month. Sometimes not every
right.
3 months. So in that period, what do? You trade, and that's what we do
Mhm.
for technicals.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Let's move on. Let's take a look at where Lucid is, and I'm sure it's going to look just like the other two.
Oh yeah, Lucid took a big hit, but we were done with it. You know, we bought
Right.
it at
Mhm.
$4.20. We got out at 520 ish area, almost probably the highest point it's reached in the recent times. And today it's not looking so healthy. So let's pull up Lucid.
It is funny how when we look at these EV stocks, how they all kind of trend together, isn't it?
They really do. They all look like the same chart, just different prices. Oh man, Lucid is. I like Lucid a lot, but I don't know. I think it's time I pick up some hard shares here, so that I don't have to speculate on time. I like the company itself. I think they're bottoming out. Here, let me pull them up. Lucid, but there's not much optimism right now. You know, of course, kind of given the same reading as the other stocks. As you can see here, it's below its IPO price. This is a SPAC. It's below
Mhm.
its lowest point, which was in January of 23. Okay, so now we're in January of 24, and we've lost a whole 50% on the stock. Right. So where do we go next? Well, here's what I see, and it's not a very pretty picture, but it is a picture that I think we will be able to get out of. So when we look at this long recent wick that happened, that would have been in January. And if we trend this down to about over here, which was essentially the breakout, this is where
Okay.
we got our breakout. You know, when you and I were chatting, this is the baseline. So let's create the baseline right here. And this is the chop that we are trading right now, David. And unfortunately, it's not pretty. But you know, when you and I again spoke, very much similar to what's happened with all the other stocks, you know, around this time was $4.20, give or take. You know, we saw the pump, it went up to 540, but it's not really a huge materialistic change in the stock itself because when we look at a weekly basis, you know, it didn't really change much. Yeah, it went up
No.
30%, but it crashed back down 30%, actually crashed back down
Mhm.
more than 30%. So what do I see? I see a bounce off the slower trend line here that I've kind of like magically drawn because there's no lower point than this. This is the lowest point. So right now we're kind of like guessing. Is it worth it here? Is it a fair value here or is it not? And it doesn't look too good. But it also looks like it's at the bottom. So what do I do as a speculative person who likes Lucid? I'm gonna buy some shares. I'm not gonna time it. I'm not gonna try to predict it. I'm gonna probably just buy some shares. I think Lucid is probably the best option on the market right now in terms of market cap when I'm looking at you know their potential in the future. Uh, so yeah, I mean, if Lucid isn't caught around $3.70, we are in trouble. So that's why I'm buying shares right now. No stop loss. Okay, I'm buying for the long term. So I'm just gonna start accumulating. No stop loss. I'm accumulating shares of Lucid. That is my one opinion slash recommendation of personal self on your show is Lucid.
Right.
I like the
No,
shares.
I
I
get
like
that.
the
And you
shares.
know, and like you and I have talked before, Lucid is protected by the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
That's right.
And there's no way with what's going on, they're going to be the first auto manufacturer in
Absolutely.
Saudi Arabia. The kingdom owns 60% of the market value
Absolutely.
of Lucid. I
Absolutely.
just don't see this company ever going away, or at least
Yeah,
not in the next 10 years.
I
you know.
totally agree with you, and that's why I'm buying shares. I can't speculate it, but as you can see here, it traded very perfectly in between these trend lines that I magically
Mhm.
draw. And then it broke out perfectly here, which is where we kind of, found that, opportunity just around here, by randomly looking at it. I don't really follow these stocks. I do them more, around your show. But we have earnings coming up here on Monday, the 26th of February. So that's going to be for the year end of December 23. I estimate that's probably the saving grace for this stock. That's probably going to like correct it where it'll just do kind of like this action. It'll just boop and then kind of correct back up, in my opinion. Otherwise, we are in for a lot of doom, and I can't even predict where it's going to go lower because technical analysis is always based off history. We don't have any history below this point.
Right.
So I don't know. I don't know how people are going to react to it, but I do feel like a lot of capitulation has happened. Obviously, given the fact that this stock, you know, was one time commanding a $45 price and today it's $3. The law of averages, the law of, of of averages really is what tells me to buy this stock. Essentially.
Yeah, well, it really does look like it's bottomed out.
I like it. I like it. I don't know. I can't tell for sure, but if it goes down to $2, I think I'll just buy more.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Okay, let's see what else we got. And I want to talk about Toyota, which is TM.
TM, that's a
We
new
haven't
one.
we haven't
Okay.
looked at
All right.
Toyota on the show
Okay. Are
before.
they OTC? No, they're on the New York Stock Exchange. I've
Yeah, yeah,
never
TM.
ever looked at Toyota in my life.
Yeah, they're up a couple percent today.
Oh, they look good.
You know, the one thing, Toyota doesn't really make a lot of pure electric vehicles. But
Yeah.
they are the leader in plug-in hybrids.
Interesting.
And that's
Um,
kind of their, where they want to be. They like the plug-in. Their theory is for it only uses the battery materials of one EV uses the battery materials of what 10 plug-in hybrids would use.
wow.
Yeah, but a lot of your plug-in hybrids have a 40 to 60-mile range or longer just on the battery.
hmm
And so you're operating really as an EV with just the gas engine as a backup.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do,
so
do they pay dividend? Yes, they do. Yeah, this trades like a dividend stock.
okay.
So, this isn't like, this isn't a trader's favorite. I didn't even know Toyota was on the stock market. I thought that they were on the OTC. I
Okay.
just have never looked into Toyota. As you can see, it's very thinly traded. If you look at the days that it's traded in, like it literally gaps up and down on a daily basis. Like this is days. So this is crazy. Like from 175 to 180, like in a matter of a day, it's a whole 6% gain. Then it loses another like five. I mean, this is crazy. Um,
You don't
I'm
think it
not
has a lot
very
of volume?
well. It's not about the volume. It's more so that it's very tightly controlled because all the dividend stocks are typically tightly controlled, in my opinion. Because they're dividend stocks, they don't trade very much. I I
The
like what
people
I'm
that have
doing.
them hold them, they don't sell them.
Pretty much, like they just keep holding it forever. There's no reason to sell a company like Toyota. I mean, how much? Let's see the all-time record. Like, let's just look at its 12 months since its inception. When has Toyota lost money? Since 1980. Shouldn't. I mean, it probably had a bad. It probably had a bad 07, 08, just like everybody did here, and it had a bad, early start to 2020. Okay, fine. So did everybody. But hey, if you own Toyota for the last 20 years, you're up. You're really up. You made a lot of dividend. So yeah, there's no reason to like go against some of these like giants that make our
Right,
cars
no.
we drive every day. You know,
Or they have a
um,
market cap of $250 billion.
yeah. Uh, what am I gonna do here? There's no damage for me, but
Well,
I
this is
mean,
crazy. So they have a market cap of a quarter trillion. They've
yeah,
only had of their volume, they've only traded 200,000 shares today.
Yeah, yeah. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
it's not a whole lot.
Mm-mm.
Um,
Like Tesla's traded 61 million shares today.
because it's a trader's darling. That's what Tesla
Right.
is. They just play games with it. They make money
Yeah.
off the options because Tesla has so many option contracts written on it. You wouldn't even believe. I mean, it's the most liquid stock. It's Tesla.
Wow. Never
Yeah,
really thought about that. That
yeah.
is that does
Everybody
make it
trades
quite
Tesla
interesting.
like no tomorrow because it's
There's no shortage of
speculative.
liquidity. Yeah.
And it's speculative, right? Because
Hmm.
anytime Tesla can drop 10% based on some garbage that comes out in the news, So, yeah. What do I see in Toyota? I like it. I don't even want to speculate. I don't. I on a daily basis, the chart, um, it reads that we're in an upwards trend below $180. I would just like think twice about buying this or holding the stock above 180. But the problem about speculating dividend stocks is that like if you're in on a spot that's X dividend date and you're getting paid that dividend, sometimes you don't care about what happens because it's baked in. The move is baked in already when you're going to collect the dividend. So, what does Simple Picks think of Toyota? I like it. I think 180 is my trend line that I would like to see being held. We have an uprising pump here, as you could see, on a daily basis. It's an uprising triangle. So what's going to happen here is we're going to actually get probably some resistance around right here. Oh,
Yeah, I know one thing's for sure. Don't even have to look at the options contracts. I know they don't pay squat
yeah.
on a company
No,
like Toyota.
especially if you like if you go and write if you write the 200 and if you write the $150 put on Toyota, you're gonna get like maybe 10 cents in premium, like
Right.
$10 in premium. But like I can't even say the word because it's my opinion, but like it's like guaranteed by the market makers for you to make
Right.
money. Like if Toyota crashes to 150, there's a serious problem with the car world, automotive industry.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, the whole problem of that is that to make $10, you'd have to put up what?
you got to put up a
18,000.
lot.
You gotta
Yeah,
put up
yeah,
18,000
you
in
got to put up a
collateral
lot
to
of
make
money.
$10.
Always like that. That's always the case, David. That's always the case. They deter you from making money because they're the ones making all the easy money.
Right. Let's
So I
see.
mean, yeah, this is kind of what we're looking at with Toyota. Around the 180 mark, I would like it. Below the 180 mark, I don't know. It might float around here, but it's not a
Mhm.
stock that I would touch. I wouldn't come near this stock.
No, I understand. I understand. I
Yeah.
just thought it was kind of interesting. I just noticed that it was up a couple percent today, and I thought, oh,
Yeah.
well,
Uh,
makes it kind of interesting
it,
because it's going
it,
against what we're seeing in some of the other markets. I
in
want you to
typical
look.
fashion. Yeah.
I got one I want you to look at today that I didn't
Sure.
plan on. Lee Auto. It's actually just LI on the Nasdaq. Now I'm assuming this is the Lee family out of Hong Kong. They were like one of the four richest families in the world.
Okay, let's see.
There's like four
Lee
families
Auto.
that are, yeah, LI. It's just the symbol is LI.
Oh,
There it is.
Lee.
Yeah. There's like four families in the world that are wealthier than Elon Musk, and they're one. Lee Auto has a market cap of about 34 billion.
Okay. They are looking like it's a
They
make it or
dro-
break it week for them.
Does it look like they
Uh,
have volume? 3
well,
million
they've got 3
shares
million,
today.
3.6 million in volume today. Average volume 5 million shares. Not
Okay.
bad. It doesn't pay dividends, but what I'm seeing is a
I like
decline here.
how TradingView rates it as a strong buy.
Yeah. Well, hey, that's trading view,
I
not
always
me.
wonder how they I always wonder how they pick some of those. Oh.
Yeah, I mean, if we look like this,
Hmm.
and then we look, as you can see, my trading style is very basic, but it works. Uh, I would say this is probably where we're at. This is what we're at, and honestly, I I want to say that $37 is like a line in the sand that if it gets crossed, this stock has a chance. Oops. Otherwise, we're gonna trend lower. So this is what I'm seeing. And look at this. It's pretty like bleak here. You know, it's tough because what's happening is this is the weekly base. This is the weekly chart. So if we go on a daily basis, you're going to see that we're actually out of the channel on a daily basis trading. Right? As you can see here, you know, when I drew this on the weekly, right? And then but when we go on a daily basis, you can see that it's respected it. It's really traded in this range. Obviously a declining range, and then it broke above here, which this is a classic fashion. When you see that the market maker wants to actually decline the stock, what happens is this: we're sitting over here, they start selling the stock right around here. Okay. And then what occurs is that there is a lot of liquidity that comes in around here, which is essentially buying the stock, right?
Hmm.
Liquidity buys the stock, buys the stock, buys the stock. And then what the market maker does is they make everybody believe that it's going to go above that high point. They trap everybody just above it, like just a little bit above it, $40, you know, here, $46. And then once all the liquidity is dry, like literally tied up here, they
Right.
begin their move back down. So where are we in right now? We are in the move back down. Now, what did I say when I first looked at it? As it's a make it or break it. Why? Because if for some reason we manage to get in here and get up there, you know, we have a fighting chance. If we don't, this is gonna get rejected off $35, $36, probably trend downwards. Uh, so that's really my read on Lee. I don't like where we're sitting on Lee. I think we're gonna probably go down.
Okay. And then my last stock is the guy I interviewed yesterday. I want to look at Greenland again. Even though this is a really small one, it's GTEC. I was real impressed because the the whole EV industry always seems fragile, and the fact
Uh-huh.
that they've been able to get where they're at and be profitable with before rebates for or government subsidies has been pretty amazing. And now all of a sudden for 24, their heavy equipment's going to be eligible for not federal rebates but state rebates all along the East Coast. And it was state by state, but it varies anywhere from 25 to a 45% state rebate for these heavy equipment like front end loaders that aren't driven on the highway.
Right. What did we say last time when we looked at
Well,
the
it didn't look bad. It was just the fact that it doesn't have a lot of it has a small market cap. I think I looked
but
today, it was
it's
around
gone up.
37 million.
It's gone up since, right? I
It was
believe
around
so.
$2. It was around $2 when we
Yeah.
looked
So
at it
hey,
originally.
they did a good job. Hey, look at that. And I believe I said I would buy it.
Yeah. So what are they at? They're at 274 now?
275, yeah,
Yeah, they
274.
were 258 yesterday during the show. I suspect my show had some impact on the stock price.
I'm gonna have to get you on some of my shows now.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I mean, I'll tell you something, man. This is uh this is looking a lot better than the other ones.
Yeah, but like I said, for 21 and 22, they ran a 7% EBITDA. And while they haven't released numbers for last year, it looks like they're going to be about the same for
Mhm.
23. And they maintain cash on hand. Now, if you go back further in their history, can you see where there was a naked short sale attack? So they had originally been, I think they SPAC'd back in 2019,
Yeah, it looks
and
like
they
it
went,
back in
they
February.
were like,
Yep.
they were at $15 at one point, and somebody naked short sailed them down to $2, and then Raymond Wang, the CEO, he came in with his own money and he bought up shares at $2, as opposed to using company money and bought up
Yeah.
shares at $2 and that ended the short sale attack and it hasn't come they haven't traded again. And he's got quite a bit. They've got lots of cash on hand. I mean, if somebody really did short sell it heavy, they could
Yeah, it
take the
was
stock
probably
back in
around.
house.
It was either probably around February of 21 or November of 21.
Yeah, so it was an interesting conversation. We did
Because
not
this
just.
is, yeah, like I remember, I think if you remember when you first presented this talk to me, I was like, I wouldn't touch this with a metal pole. I think you might remember. But then we looked
Mhm.
into it a little bit deeper and I was like, you know what? Okay, like it's looking all right. Uh that's probably why. Because you're looking at these big wicks. These wicks are dangerous, man. These just means
Well,
that everybody was selling, nobody was buying.
nobody is valuing them as a tech company like they are
Right.
with. So when we look at Tesla, Lucid, and Rivian, people are valuing them as technology companies. And now what's happening is you've seen this price pullback that to where they're being valued as car companies now. But this other company, they make electric tractors. They also make diesel engines and transmissions, and they sell to about your 50 biggest car manufacturers and tractor manufacturers. They're really big in the tractor and heavy equipment space more than anything. But as an example, I think their biggest customer is BYD.
Oh,
And
cool.
and which makes for interesting play. But they make electric motors, and they're the market leader in that space. They're one of the first early adopters in that space. And their original company has been making equipment for tractors since about 2008 or 9. And so it just kind of an interesting company. And like I said, it was a really good interview yesterday. The guy was really an exciting, he was a fun personality to have on the show with Bill and
Good.
I. And I just, I
Well,
look at what he's doing, and they seem to have smart ideas. The thing is, they're really geographically mostly selling on the US East Coast. So for a company that is on the NASDAQ, now that's outside of, this is with the heavy equipment, with their
mhm.
tractor engines and all of that. They sell that, all over, you know,
You know,
OEMs.
I would uh I would tell your friend that I'm gonna buy some shares in this company.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing the same thing,
Yeah,
even if
I
just
mean
like
it's
100 shares, just to, because
yeah, me
I
too.
really
I'm,
like them.
I'm gonna create a starter position here. Uh, I like that the last time I looked at it, it didn't decline. It's actually grown. It did pump and then kind of just come back down to earth right now, but it remained higher than where we looked at it at, and that's the most important part for me is that it remains on an upward trajectory. I don't think they're gonna get attacked again. Honestly, like you probably are right. That $2 buy where he came in, he probably held it down. That gives me some confidence.
Mhm.
Um, there's not a whole lot of volume either, so I feel like as long as this company continues doing what they're doing, they're gonna go up. I'm gonna start a position in this company as well. So
Okay.
I will cover it on a weekly basis now and kind of see how we can find better opportunities. But to me, as long as nothing adverse happens and this crashes to $1.50, I think they'll do good. I think they're gonna continue growing. So
Like I
good job
said,
to him.
they're profitable, and they have plenty of cash on hand.
Yeah.
So
And
that,
he earned my vote. Like I said, I hated the longer outlook of this stock, but I think today this is a good
mhm.
value stock.
Well,
And that's what I'm
I've
looking at.
also, it is interesting. The more you know about a company, the more you feel good about it.
Well, of course.
And then after I had that conversation, I learned about that they've done this without the government subsidies, and now they're about to start getting the government subsidies as well.
Wow.
I mean, I
Wow.
just can't imagine. I mean, you'd be stupid to go buy a front end loader for 250,000 and buy a diesel if a electric
Yeah,
one would do the job. That's one of
absolutely.
the problems though. So their tech is great for it's not going to be used like making highways. The problem is you still are, because they're electric, you have to use them where you have a charging station. Okay, so you're not gonna, like, load it up on the back of a, tractor,
Right.
haul it to a job site, and then bring it
Right.
back to a charging station.
Right.
You're not gonna
Right.
do all that. And
Yeah. No, I
he
understand.
he
I
says,
assumed they would have had to figure a smart way to do it.
yeah. No, we were discussing that because he said we try to deter buyers who are looking for that solution, because he says they have DOTs contact them all the time. from different states, and they said that
Uh-huh.
this just isn't the right use for our product, you know.
Oh yeah.
And then he said that then what you'd have to do if you didn't have electricity at the site for a charging station, you'd basically have to have like a diesel generator out there charging. Like
Yeah.
that doesn't make any sense at all. So why not just have a diesel, you know, one? But he really got into, we talked about the environmental impact of, one of the things that's kind of crazy, if you think about, if you were on a big construction site, you know how noisy those things are, right? Well, his are quiet. I mean, they still make some noise, but
Because it's a battery.
because the electric motor, it's quiet, and it's kind of fascinating to think
That's
about
awesome.
noise pollution.
That's a big one too. Hey, look, there's all kinds of cases for all kinds of products, and
Right.
as long as it benefits certain consumers, I'll bite. I'll bite. It just has to make sense. And GTEC looks good, man. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start buying a couple of shares. It's priced low. It's at the lowest it's been, or just about, in terms of quarter to quarter.
Mhm.
Um, and with myself not being bearish on the stock market, I think it's an okay time to be buying and holding some stocks. Just, the markets is just, it doesn't seem to want to make sense right now. And I am not a long time bull. I am a long term bear, is what they call
Mhm.
them. I'm a pessimist,
Mhm.
but I can't short the markets right now. So yeah, best to do is just buy some shares on some stocks that you like.
No, I agree. Let's see here. Oh, I didn't want to do that. See. All right. Well, I think we've covered everything we wanted to cover for today.
Awesome.
And if you're listening to this, if you put something in the comments, other stocks you might like us to cover occasionally, we don't mind doing some that are not in the EV space if somebody has a request.
Absolutely.
But anyways, I'm going to go ahead